Monday Movers from Second and Short is back. Where this is a fictional power rankings where guys go up and down. There's no criteria really. It's just in the moment, our whole crew of guys who we think is just kind of, performing really well and who isn't. And we kind of want to shine some light on these studs and duds or ups and downs or whatever you want to call them. So let's kick things off right away with getting everybody more engaged, more involved. Down below in the comment section, go ahead. You can do it right now as you're listening. Let us know who you guys were impressed with the most over week 3's action and who kind of disappointed you and you're kind of getting down on. Also, be sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Without further ado, Matt Stafford is a huge up for us here. Like, he is insane. At the beginning of the year, all offseason, everybody's been saying, this guy probably will be in the MVP category and has a good chance of maybe winning it at the end of the year because he's on a good team. He's got some good weapons around him, good protection. Run game is decent. That's kind of went downhill due to all the injuries. But he is showing up right now. So right now, Matt Stafford is 5th in the NFL. He has 942 yards. He's 9 touchdowns to 1 interception, and he has an 82.8 QBR, which is number 1 in the NFL. Why he moves up right now is, I told you, if you're following along on TikTok or listen to us every week on our weekly podcast, we drop those on Thursdays here. My start of the week in fantasy was Matt Stafford because Tampa Bay's defense, well, they're there and they can get to you. They give up a lot of yards and a lot of points right now. Matt Stafford is able to throw for 343 yards. He had 4 touchdowns, and he led them to a 34-24 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions. The Los Angeles Rams are now 3-0. And in my belief, it's big contribution mainly because of Matt Stafford. MVP level play right now. He is on pace to be a top 5 quarterback in yards, touchdowns, and probably wins at the end of the year. They were my pick at the beginning of the year, right? I think preseason week 1 or 2, I had them going 13-4, 14-3, be the number 1 seed in the NFC. As it stands right now, the way Stafford's playing, I completely agree and believe that. Now let's go ahead and move to a down. Our first down, and let's not talk about a player or a coach or just a position. Let's talk about an entire team. The Pittsburgh Steelers are getting a massive down for us here. The Steelers that we know seem to be gone. The type of team that looks like it doesn't matter if it's 4th and 10, 4th and 15, 3rd and 3, no matter, they're going to pick up the first down. They're going to be able to move the ball in that red zone, get some points. They're going to do well. I mean, Cincinnati Bengals got a poor offensive line. Joe Burrow was destroyed last week and didn't play that great. And the Steelers kind of got to him, not really. And they were withheld. I mean, they got some pressure, but they didn't have a sack. And I think it's like the first time in I don't know, they had a streak of 75 or 80 games in a row where they've had a sack, and then they failed to get one yesterday against what is pretty, universally known as a poor offensive line. And they couldn't get it done. Now let's talk about Big Ben. And I saw this video and I can't stop thinking about it. 4th and 10, there's about 3 minutes left in the game against the Bengals. They're down 24-10 at this point. And it's an immediate check down on a 4-man rush to his running back, who ended up gaining no yards off it. Maybe got a couple of inches. Instead of going for the touchdown in the end zone, I mean, the first down would have been on the 1. You can't really just try and get a first down, but you've got to do something. Like, you're losing right now. Hit that end zone, get somebody underneath, let them move into space and kind of create. Big Ben looked like he was just checking it down. Didn't really seem like the Big Ben that we know. And now this isn't like a bragging thing or something that I'm proud of, because you never want to see players, it sucks to see, good players kind of fade, but it always happens, time gets us all. But I was saying all off season, and I'm going to continue to say it, this is potentially probably Big Ben's last ride. And I think we're going to slowly see this decrease in play from him. Now, he can obviously come back and throw for 400 next week just because he's Big Ben. But the play style is poor right now. The play calling is terrible. There seems to be no gusto. There's there's no win in their sails. They kind of seem like yesterday they were done. They were beat. Small, tiny, positive. Najee Harris looks great. Looks really good in the passing game. Received 14 targets yesterday. Fantastic from him. But losing to the Bengals, falling to 1-2 after you beat the Buffalo Bills in week 1. You made Josh Allen look like, oh man, he's getting overhyped. And then you just come out with 2 dud performances in a row to the Raiders and to the Bengals. It's not looking good for you because they got much better teams in their schedule coming on up. Now, let's get a little more positive. And we just kind of talked about those Raiders. Let's continue to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders right now are on fire. They are now 3-0. 3-0. Derek Carr looks great. Derek Carr himself is tearing up the NFL. He's already got 1,200 passing yards through 3 games. So he's averaging over 400 yards a game. The Raiders as a whole are averaging just under 500 total offensive yards a game. They are completely running everything right now. Let's see. I'm going to pull this up real quick while we're looking because while I'm looking up their statistics here, they trailed 14-0 in both week 1 to the Baltimore Ravens and in week 3 the Miami Dolphins. They were able to overcome and win both those games in overtime. It looks like the longer the game goes on, the better Carr gets. He's becoming clutch, and the play calling is fantastic as well. Now, I think it is time to get on this Raiders hype train. I was on there last year. We had this sleepers and contender series where these teams potentially could sneak into the playoffs, and Raiders were my team that I thought really could. I thought they could take another step forward, but I kind of overestimated the receivers they had. But I think with another year under their belt, they're looking great. And we're seeing that the Raiders here are averaging, 30 points per game, which puts them somewhere they're 8th overall. So dropping a lot of points. The defense isn't fantastic. So that's why we're kind of just focusing on the offense. But for a team that was supposed to be bad, not that good because they got rid of every offensive lineman. Josh Jacobs hasn't been healthy since he got hurt in week 1. They're using guys like Peyton Barber at running back. All the receivers are, their top guys are undersized or they're slot guys, but they're still doing well. And Darren Waller is fantastic. I think it is totally time to jump on this hype train because unlike their counterparts at Denver Broncos, no offense to Broncos fans out there, but their schedule hasn't been as soft. I mean, they had to literally take down the Ravens, Steelers, and Dolphins, 3 AFC opponents that are non-divisional, and they're already 3-0 in those games. That's fantastic for them. Now, if they can just weave through this division and kind of win, they're going to need to. But I think that's what's going to come down here because I honestly think the AFC West is fantastic. And I think everybody's going to kind of beat each other as we go along. There's going to be a lot of splits. There's going to be a lot of people that are 4-2 in the division, 3-3. I don't think anybody's going to get swept. But so winning your games that are out of division is going to be key to potentially making the playoffs. And I think the Raiders are on the right track this season. Now, let's get a little bit negative. We're going to stay in the AFC. I kind of wanted to say rookie quarterbacks as a whole, but Trey Lance is playing okay as a backup coming in. He's already got 2 touchdowns when he's not the starter. And I think that Justin Fields is unfairly getting talked negatively about because he didn't have, he pretty much the game script for the Bears, which we'll talk about them in a little bit. Spoiler alert, was kind of tailored to just Andy Dalton's play style. And it's Justin Fields, you fill in and just do exactly what we want Dalton to do. Trevor Lawrence is playing for the worst team in the NFL, a team that hasn't won a game without Gardner Minshew in 3 years. And he's playing with a poor NFL coach, in my opinion, Urban Meyer. Mac Jones is Mac Jones. I wasn't impressed coming out of college, and I didn't think he was going to develop and translate that well. I'm just going to stand by that take. Zach Wilson, major down. So he's only completing 55% of his passes. Here's the thing. This guy was supposed to be this next wonder kid. He's supposed to be this breakout guy, and he still can. I'm jumping a little early, calling him a bust or anything. I'm not doing that. But he's not the guy that's going to turn around these Jets. These Jets are jetting it up. They are playing terrible. They didn't drop a single point last week. I saw some stat thing. I don't even know. I saw this video, and if you would have given them 2 points for every first down they had, they still would have lost that game to the Denver Broncos yesterday. So Zach Wilson, 55% completion percentage, not very good. He's got 2 touchdowns so far in the season to 7 interceptions, not very good. He's on pace to potentially break Peyton Manning's record, especially with the extended game that we have here. He's 0-3. So far, he's been sacked 15 times through 3 games, which is not necessarily a quarterback stat. I was talking about this in one of my dynasty leagues. Not necessarily on the quarterback, but it is still something. I mean, if he's getting hit that much, it's going to be hard for him to be successful in the NFL, not just this year, but in any system, any team. Getting hit all the time will not make you look like a good quarterback. But currently his QBR is at 22.1, which is good for 31st in the NFL right now. So he's not last among starters, but he's not doing well either. For a guy that was drafted over Trey Lance, who I said shouldn't have been, for a guy that was drafted over Justin Fields, who I said shouldn't have been, the Jets are kind of getting what we expected. If you don't learn how to protect your quarterback, it doesn't matter if it's Sam Darnold, Mark Sanchez, Zach Wilson. It doesn't matter. You guys could take Zach Wilson out right now and you could put in literally anybody else, and it wouldn't matter. With a bad offensive line, a lack of a run game, your offensive weapons are poor. They're poor, and you're not giving much help for Zach Wilson. He does need to be better at holding onto that ball. Sometimes you don't got to go out and win it with every throw, and it seems like that's what he's kind of trying to do. But down for us here. Now, our last down. Let's talk one more down. We'll end on a positive note. Is the Bears' offensive line. We kind of touched on it earlier. Real quick, we're not going to talk about these guys too much because the Bears' offensive line was terrible. I don't know if they hate Justin Field and they love Andy Dalton, if they were just like, we're not going to block today. They did run into a really good defensive line that we hyped up all offseason. Here's what I got. So the Bears' offensive line helped produce 46 rushing yards on the day on 13 attempts, which is good for 3.5 average. Not terrible, but I'm starting at the top. This is the best stat for them performance-wise. There was 21 quarterback pressures total because there's multiple pressures from people at the same time, but there's only 20 dropbacks. There was 15 quarterback hits and 9 sacks. That's unexcusable. I understand that sometimes quarterbacks got to be able to release the ball, get rid of it, and move. They couldn't block anybody. Like Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks. Jadeveon Clowney had 2 sacks. It seemed like almost everybody could have got a sack yesterday. If the game would have went an extra 10 minutes, there would have been another 3 or 4 sacks potentially. This offensive line has got to get it together. It doesn't matter if it's Dalton or Fields. We just talked about Zach Wilson. You got to get your stuff together. You got to protect your guy. Otherwise, they're going to get hurt and your investment is going to be ruined and you're going to be out of a job starting in the NFL. Now let's end on a positive note. This is kind of like the easiest up we've ever done. We had a record get broken on Sunday. Justin Tucker, 66-yard game-winning field goal off the crossbar, floats itself back on in off that bounce. And we have a record breaker on a game winner. Of all times to do it, it was perfect because this Ravens team was about to lose the Detroit Lions. And you got saved by arguably the top 3 greatest kickers of all time. And Tucker is clutch. Yesterday he was 4 for 5. Plus he had an extra point. So we had 13 of the Ravens, 19 points. Just breaking a record, leading your team in points, being the sole reason why you're even in the game in the first place and why you won it gets a little up for us here on these power rankings. And that's going to do it for us here at Second and Short in our Monday Movers Week 3 edition. You see below me everywhere. Follow us on all these accounts. TikTok daily content. We're just popping. We just broke 500 followers there. Thank you guys very much. We got nice responses coming everywhere else. We got graphics on Instagram. If you want to catch everything all in one, Facebook is the place to do it, but also Twitter. We drop questions to you guys as well because we like to hear from y'all. Like I said in the beginning, drop a comment below. Let me know who you guys were impressed with and who just kind of pissed you off. And again, subscribe, like. We'll see you guys on Thursday for our Fantasy Cheap Seats episode.